In the 1980s, Barry Seal, a daring pilot for Trans World Airlines, one of America's biggest carriers, lives a quiet life with his wife Lucy and their kids. Even with a steady job, Barry grows bored with the routine. On the side, he runs a small scheme, smuggling Cuban cigars into the U.S., mostly for fun and some extra cash. During a layover, Barry is approached by a CIA agent named Monty Schaefer. Monty reveals he knows about the cigars and offers Barry a way out, work for the CIA on a secret mission. Not even his wife can know. Monty shows Barry the plane he'll be using and asks him to take it for a test flight. That evening, Barry goes home and tells Lucy about the new job, keeping the details vague since he can't reveal the truth. Lucy, of course, isn't convinced. Once Barry accepts, his mission is to fly over Central America, snapping photos of communist rebels and military sites. He carries out reconnaissance flights over Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, gathering intel for the CIA. The ops go smoothly, and his superiors are so impressed they expand his role. Barry will now act as courier. In Panama, Barry handles information that Colonel Noriega sells to the agency about local communists. On one of his missions, Barry is escorted to meet Jorge Ochoa, a businessman who says he knows him and offers another job. The proposal is simple. Use his planes to smuggle drugs from Colombia into the United States for Ochoa, Pablo Escobar, and Carlos later, who would soon be known as the Medellin cartel. They promise him a huge payday, $2,000 for every kilo delivered. Hesitant at first, Barry gives in once he sees the insane profit. They load his plane to the brim, and Barry manages to take off from a dangerous strip. He flies out, drops the cargo tied to floating buoys at the marked point, and on returning to Colombia, he's paid in full. They immediately talk about scheduling another run for the following week, but the meeting is cut short when soldiers storm the place and a gunfight erupts. Barry is arrested only for Monty to show up at the prison to talk to him. Barry, thinking Monty is there to bail him out, says the soldiers probably already know he's working for the CIA. But to his shock, Monty denies it, claiming Barry is now just a drug smuggler. Monty adds that the Louisiana authorities already know about his arrest and that his wife will be taken in for questioning. Barry begs Monty for help, and the agent says he might be able to. Back then, the photos Barry had taken for the CIA showed a band of communists calling themselves Sandinistas. The Sandinistas managed to organize and seize control of Nicaragua, Central America's first successful revolution. But luck turned Barry's way with the arrival of a new sheriff in town. Ronnie Reagan, the 40th President of the United States, wanted the Sandinistas out of Nicaragua. He looked to the Contras for help, but Congress, fearing another Vietnam, refused to let Reagan go to war. So Reagan turned to the CIA, and the CIA turned to Barry. Monty arranged to relocate Barry and his family to Mena, Arkansas. There, he was given his own private airstrip and free rein to keep flying missions. Monty laid out the weapons Barry would be smuggling into Nicaragua, handing him a map to dodge Gulf Coast patrols. Back home, things with Lucy were tense. Barry explained he no longer worked for TWA. Lucy panicked. She told him he needed to support the family, especially with her 6 months pregnant. She demanded appliances and beds for the kids, refusing to go back to flipping burgers with 3 children to raise. Barry tossed bundles of cash on the floor, silencing her. He told Lucy only about his work with the CIA, but the truth was bigger. Barry was now working for the CIA, the Medellin cartel, and Reagan's government, running secret arms drops to the Contras in Nicaragua. The operation grew so large that Barry needed a crew. Pete Dubois, Stan Mason, Bill Cooper, and Bob were the pilots he hired to help with the air runs. Sometime later, Monty shows up with another task for Barry. This time, he has to train the Contras, since Monty wants to set up a base and a full training camp. The drills begin, and soon Monty returns, expanding the operation even more. Everything seems perfect for Barry, who now flaunts piles of cash and flashy cars. With so much money pouring in, Barry has to set up shell companies to launder it, building what looks like a full-on logistics hub for trafficking. Things are running smoothly until Lucy's brother, JB, shows up asking for a job. Barry hires him to clean the small airfield, but JB grabs one of the money bags and buys himself a new car. Barry sees it, and he's furious. The whole operation starts drawing attention. Local police begin sniffing around Barry. During one of his runs, he's intercepted by the U.S. Border Patrol and forced to land right in the middle of a street. Barry escapes on a bike, carrying a backpack full of cash. But the news explodes. A plane crashed in Louisiana with 200 kilos of Colombian powder, sending Monty into a rage. Barry then gets a call from Jorge Ochoa. He explains they had to flee Colombia overnight because Escobar lost his mind, declared war on the government, and got the cartel kicked out of the country. The only safe haven from the DEA was Nicaragua. At a meeting, Pablo, Jorge, and the others tell Barry he'll have to haul 1,500 kilos in a single run. But the talk is cut short when Lucy calls. JB's been arrested with a ton of cash. Back home, Barry tells Lucy that JB must follow whatever the lawyer says. Later, Jorge calls, demanding answers. Barry insists they should slow things down for now, but Jorge shuts him down, saying he'll handle it. Meanwhile, every agency is watching Barry's every move. JB gets out and swears he never said a word about the cash, claiming everything will be fine. Not willing to take any risks, Barry gives JB a passport, a first-class ticket, and a stack of money, telling him to disappear. But JB, bitter, climbs into his car, cursing Barry and demanding weekly payments. Before driving off, he throws a nasty insult at Lucy, sending Barry over the edge. Barry runs after him, but JB floors it and speeds away. He barely makes it down the road before the car explodes, killing him instantly. Barry drags the wreck into the bushes and heads back home. Monty, drowning in work, cuts loose the Contras he had been training. The U.S. government steps in, and the agent starts erasing every trace that tied Barry's operations to the CIA, wiping out the evidence. Without the CIA behind him, Barry tries to move all the money out, but ends up caught by the authorities who were already on the case. Barry is arrested, but shockingly, the governor of Arkansas intervenes and sets him free. The pilot is then taken to the White House, where he sits in on a meeting about the Sandinistas. There, alongside Ronnie's right-hand man, Colonel Ollie North, and a DEA representative, Barry is recruited to work for Reagan's administration in an operation to expose the Medellin cartel's role in the drug trade and prove that the communists were in on it too. Barry dives back into business, now working directly for the White House. Together with Pete, one of his pilots, he heads straight to the Medellin cartel. Once they land, they're surrounded and held at gunpoint by cartel soldiers. Barry insists the plane is meant for Ochoa and Escobar, but the soldiers keep their weapons aimed. Ochoa arrives and tells one of his men to shoot the gringos. Barry, confused and panicked, realizes he's about to be executed, but at the last second, Ochoa steps in, calls it off, and bursts into laughter, breaking the tension and giving the pilots a fragile sense of relief. Soon after, Barry is taken to meet Escobar, who greets him with a cold, hostile stare. But Escobar's mood shifts instantly when Barry unveils the Harleys he had been promised. With that, Barry earns just enough trust to keep operating and manages to capture secret footage of meetings with Escobar and other cartel leaders, evidence meant for the White House. But those photos that were meant to stay secret end up splashed in a presidential press call. Barry is seen right next to a cartel boss, and the Colombians realize he betrayed them. The DEA rep reaches out to Barry to apologize for the leak, but Barry says things have gotten bad for him and his family. So Barry spends time with them, and at night, he tells Lucy exactly what to do if the feds show up. And the feds do show up at his house, taking everything of value they can find. Lucy clings to fancy clothes and jewelry as the only safety net for her and the kids. She and the children move to Baton Rouge. Barry, meanwhile, is sentenced to 1,000 hours of community service. But Barry isn't free. Ochoa and Escobar are still after him. He never goes home again. Instead, he hides in cheap motels, switching places every day, living with almost no protection. Alone, he begins recording video diaries, documenting his story as testimony. But in '89, Barry is found dead in Baton Rouge. Authorities suspect the Medellin cartel. Monty was promoted after framing Iran for supplying weapons to the Contras. Pete walked free, found God, and became a priest in small-town Alabama. The other pilots were never seen again. The CIA kept using Barry's plane to run guns to the Contras, until one was shot down in Nicaragua. Lucy and the kids went back to Louisiana, where she returned to working at a fast food place, still holding on to her jewelry. Well, folks, that's today's film. Drop a comment below and tell me what you thought. I'm Gustavo Marquez, signing off for now. If you liked it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Big hug to everyone, and see you in the next video.